Hey everyone, how's it going? This is Richard, and welcome back to another stock market outlook video brought to you by DView. If you want more information about the screener and charting platform, click the link that's down below in the description, as well as popping up right now over on the left-hand side. With that said, throughout this video, if you do enjoy my analysis, definitely click the like button and subscribe if you want to see more videos just like this one every single week. Dive right in. Let's start with the major ETFs on a daily chart. We've got the QQQ here. We're pulling back into the 200-day moving average, definitely a significant area, as well as kind of a important potential prior area of support. We're just below this pivot now, but it's in that general area. However, looking at the 21 EMA, you can see we're below a declining 21 EMA, so that short-term trend indicator is now down. However, we remain above a rising 50 SMA, and we're above a kind of flattening 200-day moving average as of this moment. Now, after consolidating a little bit, this extreme run up here for 1-2 weeks, it was actually a double inside week the week prior, so we broke below that this week. You can see that we're now in a short-term down cycle. We broke below this wedge. This was a very poor close after pushing higher, and now we're just in a short-term downtrend, and we'll have to see whether we can consolidate here and basically form out a base below 314. Looking at the SPY, very similar. Nice consolidation here. We broke downwards. It looked constructive. Then we finished lower here on this day, and we've continued down below that 21 EMA, and we're right at basically a bunch of key levels. We've got the 50 SMA here, the 200-day SMA. So a lot of potential reasons why people might be interested in, buying some shares and supporting it at this moment. But we never have to kind of predict what's going to happen. All we have to do is wait for that actually to occur and buy that reversal, or look for opportunities that are holding up better than the indexes that could benefit from an upside reversal in the indexes. And that's what I'll post later today, my watch list of 17 names for next week. So make sure you subscribe so you're notified for that video. So looking at this, we're in a short-term downtrend below that 21 EMA. And this is kind of my guide. For me, it's almost the most important moving average on this chart. The 50 SMA and 200 SMA, of course, are good for that, more longer-term focus. But that 21 EMA is kind of perfect for swing trading, hybrid position trading. So, if we're above a rising 21 EMA, probably there's opportunities there for breakouts, for stocks and uptrends, moving higher off, logical support. But if we're below declining 21 EMA, it's often best to be, mostly in cash and being defensive and protective of any positions you do have. So that is a little bit on that. Moving on to the IWM. This also consolidated and was holding up better along with the NASDAQ 100, but we broke lower on this day. We've got a little bit of a failed move higher on this day, consolidation day, and then that break downwards, and a little bit of upside reversal on Friday. And a lot of stocks, are setting up a little bit like this. We've had a move upwards, sideways, depending on how strong they are, and then upside reversal and positive action late last week. So, not all is lost. We'll have to see if we can basically make a stand here. There are definitely a lot more setups than I was expecting going into this weekend. My wider list has about 50 stocks on it. Then I refine that to that 17 stocks. And then basically I'll really focus on just a select few tomorrow morning and basically my daily focus list. So we'll have to see what happens, and that will provide feedback how those stocks basically act next week. And, I feel like I say this every week, but we're almost at a critical juncture here, pulling into that 200 SMA on the NASDAQ 100, and we'll have to see whether the leaders can hold us up. Looking now at the SMH, which is a potential leadership group, we basically are chopping around here, forming a potential base below, 255, 256, above a rising 50 SMA, but we are below a declining 21 EMA. NVIDIA, which we'll go over in just a second, had a nice gap up on earnings. It's now consolidating at a little bit, and we'll take a look at that chart in just a second. But overall, this is holding up reasonably well. We've got this pivot here lining up at the 50 SMA, so I wouldn't mind to see a base form here, but we do have to push higher and eventually reclaim that 21 EMA and see that kind of flip upwards as well. Moving on to those individual names, let's take a look at Tesla. This is acting really nicely. We've got this extreme push higher, nice volume coming in above a rising 21 EMA, nice upside reversal here on Friday, but it's basically got to hold these lows around 187, which lines up, close to that 21 EMA area. And basically you can draw a downward trend line here, and you want to see this push higher from that point, or it could just kind of base out a little bit further below 214. But this level is pretty important going back in time. You can see that it was basically the base lows back in this area. So that is Tesla. Moving on to NVIDIA, as we talked about, nice gap up on earnings. This has been strong since that 1013 low. and forming higher lows. Nice action here. Love to see a gap up on huge volume and basically a consolidation day on Friday. So we'll have to see where this progresses from this point. It's just kind of starting to move up off the bottom. I'm sure a lot of people are drawing this inverse head and shoulders, and we'll just have to see whether that basically confirms and start to move back towards these highs and continues that move as well. Apple, you can see pulled back towards this 21 EMA area. It undercut that as well as a 200 SMA. Wouldn't mind to see kind of a base form under 157. Yeah, we're just below the 21 EMA, 200 SMA, still above a rising 50 SMA, but this is pretty much flattening as of this point. Microsoft pulling back harder than most of these, below the 200-day, 21 EMA as well, above an increasing 50-day, but this is all kind of corresponding at that same spot, and is a little bit deeper within the base, and it's not really, the strongest of these mega cap names. Moving on to Meta, this has actually been acting quite well since this gap down. Had a really strong rally above a rising 21 EMA, another gap up on earnings, but it's kind of leaked below that. The overall market's been a little bit weak, going sideways, and now it's pulling back, on declining volume into that 21 EMA, and it just remains to be seen, how it acts from this point. I'm sure a lot of people are drawing a little bit of a downward trend line here, and if it pushes through that on volume, that could be actionable for a swing trade. For me, it's not really a focus, but for the overall market, it's good if Facebook is doing well, and clearly the market thought that this move downwards was oversold, and the market responded, and a lot of people bought into the stock and caused this move higher. So it remains to be seen whether this is the start of a new uptrend. It's definitely suffered a lot of destruction here, but we are back above that 200-day moving average and above a rising 21 and 50 SMA, and nice oops reversal here on Friday as well. Moving on to Google, this looks the worst of the mega caps. You can see we're below all the moving averages here. They're all declining as well. And we're seeing some sell-offs on volume as well after it was rejected basically at that 200-day moving average. So not a great look from this mega cap stock, and we'll have to see whether this can find support somewhere, maybe an undercut and rally of these prior lows, and then start to move back up towards the 200-day and test it once again. So overall, after consolidating for 2 weeks, we broke lower. We're in a short-term down cycle, but a lot of leadership is holding up pretty nicely. And I'll go through some names that I'm watching closely in my next video, which I'll post later today, shortly after this one. And I'll actually link that down below in the description, as well as popping up right now when I do so. But definitely a critical week. We'll have to see how those leaders act and just respond and basically use that feedback to determine what our exposure level should be. So thanks so much for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like down below, subscribe if you're new, and let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. What do you think about this basically pullback here? Where do you think we go from here? And what are 1 or 2 names that you're watching going into next week? Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in future videos. Take care.